inside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Donald Trump is there now. His motorcade has arrived, and we will be watching for him to pop up in that live shot as he heads into the courtroom. Reporters say he went into the building through a side door just before the top of the hour, so about 15 minutes ago. This is the first full day for jury selection in his hush money trial. Proceedings are set to begin at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. So far, the court has chosen no jurors yet. And as Chris Reyes tells us from outside the courthouse, more than 60 people have already been sent home from the jury pool.
There are 32 potential jurors left from the end of yesterday, from that first group. That was a manual head count from the pool of journalists that are in the courtroom that we are a part of, diligently reporting every detail of this case. What happens today? So those who are left will have to answer that exhaustive questionnaire from the judge that we talked about yesterday. And I do mean exhaustive, Heather. This is what you were talking about, how this is going to be a long process. Just to give you an example, there were 6 potential jurors that got through the questions yesterday, and we learned everything about them, from where they live, their jobs, everything about their families, their hobbies, what media they consume, whether they've attended Trump rallies in the past. And add to that, the judge has granted both sides of lawyers to also question the jurors. This was a request made by Trump's defense team. Now, as you know, they've repeatedly raised concerns about getting a fair trial here in New York, considered a very blue, very Democrat jurisdiction. Have a listen to what Trump's lawyer said about that process.
When you've had wall-to-wall media coverage in, frankly, the media capital of the world on a case like this for as long as you've had it, it's going to be very tough to find people who can come into the courtroom without preconceived biases about the evidence, about the law, who will accept the judge's instructions and who will view the facts dispassionately.
And Heather, let me take you a little bit more inside the courtroom with what we saw yesterday, because we'll see more of that today. Remember, this is a criminal court case unlike this country has ever seen. And you sort of get a sense of that from the reaction from the potential jurors in that room yesterday as they laid eyes on their former U.S. president. One woman in the back giggled. She put her hand to her mouth when she saw Trump. And then also when some 50 potential jurors raised their hands, saying that they don't believe they can be impartial in this case, and they were dismissed, Trump craned his neck and made eye contact with them as well. So more of those dynamics today.
When this jury is eventually selected, Chris, the judge has ruled on some of the evidence jurors will and will not hear. This was the subject of some of the pretrial arguments yesterday. What can you tell us about that?
That's right. So that infamous Access Hollywood tape where you can hear Donald Trump bragging about grabbing women's genitals, that will not be allowed to be played for the jurors, but it can be discussed. And then the video deposition of Trump that was used in the E. Jean Carroll civil case that she just recently won against him, that defamation and sexual assault lawsuit, that will also not be played for the jury. I should mention, Heather, that Trump said very few words in court yesterday, and only to acknowledge his rights as a defendant, but he's doing a lot of talking outside of that courtroom. Remember, this is really essentially the only campaign stop that he can make in the next 2 months, the duration of this trial. So you can expect we'll hear more from the former president when he comes into the court this morning.